My childhood friend reached out after years. What they said shocked me. I hadn't thought about Leo in 15 years. We were inseparable until the summer of 2010. We were 12. Living in a small, foggy town in Oregon where the trees seemed to swallow the sunlight. Then, one Tuesday, Leo's family moved. No goodbye, no forwarding address, just an empty house and a for sale sign. Yesterday, I got a DM from a blank account. The crow still flies at midnight. Sam, go to the Hollow Oak. I left the debt I owe you. My heart stopped. The crow still flies at midnight was our secret code. I replied, but the account was already deleted. I couldn't sleep. My wife, Sarah, told me it was probably a prank. But she didn't see the way. Leo's eyes used to look right before he did something crazy. I drove 3 hours back to our hometown. The Hollow Oak was a massive, rotting tree deep in the woods behind our old middle school. I felt like a trespasser in my own memories. I reached the tree, and there, wedged into a knot in the wood, was a rusted metal tin old Pac-Man lunchbox we used as a time capsule. Inside wasn't a toy. It was a burner phone and a set of keys to a storage unit in a city 2 states away. I turned the phone on. There was one saved voice memo. Leo's voice sounded older, agged, terrified, and breathless. Sam, if you're hearing this, they found me. I never moved away because my parents wanted to. We were taken. I've spent 15 years trying to get back to you. But I couldn't bring the package with me. The keys in the box. Sam, don't go alone. But don't go to the police either. They're part of it. I didn't listen to him. I went alone. I drove through the night, fueled by caffeine and adrenaline. The storage facility was a dump on the outskirts of Seattle. Unit 402. When I opened the door, I expected money. Or maybe drugs, something normal for a runaway. But the unit was empty, except for a single, high-tech computer server humming in the corner and a large, velvet-lined crate. I opened the crate. My blood ran cold. Inside was a collection of hyperrealistic silicone masks. But they weren't random faces. The first mask was my face. The second was my wife's face. The third was our daughter's. They weren't just masks. There were notebooks filled with our daily schedules. What we ate for breakfast, the exact time I left for work, and the brand of coffee Sarah likes. Leo wasn't just reaching out, he had been watching us for years. The burner phone in my pocket buzzed. A text, turn around, Sam. I spun around. Standing in the doorway of the storage unit was a man. He looked nothing like the Leo I remembered. He was scarred thin and wearing a security guard uniform. He held a silenced pistol, but he wasn't pointing it at me. He was pointing it at the car parked 3 rows down. They followed you, Leo whispered. I didn't send that DM, Sam. They used my old code to lure you here. I came to stop them. Who is they? I yelled, my voice cracking. The people who pay for the replacements? Leo said, gesturing to the masks. Your life is worth a lot of money to people who want to disappear. Sam, you have a clean record. A good job and a perfect family. You're the perfect skin to step into. Suddenly, the black SUV down the row roared to life. Men in tactical gear stepped out. Leo shoved a USB drive into my hand. This is the ledger. Every name, every replacement they've ever done. Get to the FBI in DC, not the local cops, the feds. If I don't make it out, tell my mom I didn't run away. Tell her I was grabbed. The next 10 minutes were a blur of gunfire and screaming tires. Leo stayed behind to draw their fire. I drove my car through a chain-link fence. The USB drive gripped so hard, my knuckles turned white. I'm writing this from a safe house. The FBI took the drive. They've already made 12 arrests, including the chief of police from my old hometown. It turns out, a private firm had been erasing people and replacing them with lookalikes for decades to infiltrate high-level government positions. But here is the part that keeps me up at night. The FBI ran the DNA on the Leo who helped me at the storage unit. They found his body in the woods 2 days later. The DNA matched. But according to the medical examiner, Leo had been dead for at least a week. If Leo died a week ago, then who was the man standing in the storage unit who saved my life? And why, when I looked in the mirror this morning, did my own reflection feel like a mask I'm just waiting to peel off? The FBI called it Operation Paperthin. They had me tucked away in a sterile, windowless apartment in Northern Virginia. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the man at the storage unit, the man who claimed to be Leo, the man who died a week before I met him. Agent Miller, a woman who looked like she hadn't slept since the 90s, sat across from me. "Sam," she said, sliding a grainy photograph across the table. "We searched the storage unit. We found the masks. But we found something else in the subfloor. Look." I looked. It was a photo of a medical file. My medical file. It had my dental records, my blood type, and my x-rays from a broken arm I had when I was 8. But the date on the file was from 3 years before I was born. "That's impossible," I whispered. "We think your hometown wasn't just a place where people were replaced." Miller said coldly, "We think it was a harvest farm. A place where they raised specific DNA profiles to be used as backups for the elite. You weren't a target, Sam. You were a product. The FBI had relocated my wife, Sarah, and our daughter, Maya, to a different safe house for their protection. I wasn't allowed to call them, but at 3 a.m., the burner phone I had kept from the storage unit vibrated. It was a FaceTime request. I answered. It was Sarah. She was in a dimly lit kitchen. She looked calm to calm. I couldn't trust the FBI. If my wife was a replacement, then Agent Miller could be one too. That night, I waited for the guard outside my door to go on break. I didn't use the door. I went through the ventilation shaft. I had lived in that town in Oregon. I knew how to move through small, dark spaces. I didn't run to the police. I drove back to Oregon. I went back to the only person who might still be real, Leo's mother. Mrs. Henderson. She lived in a nursing home now, suffering from advanced dementia. When I entered her room, she didn't see a stranger. She looked at me and smiled. "Oh, Leo," she whispered. "You finally came back for your brother." "I'm Sam, Mrs. Henderson, not Leo." She grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. Her eyes cleared for a second. "No, you're the one they kept in the basement. Sam was the boy who lived next door. He died in the fire in 2010. You're the one who survived. You're the one who was made to look like him." My head spun. The memories of my childhood, the bike rides, the school dances, the wedding started to feel like a movie I had watched, not a life I had lived. I went to the local cemetery that night. I found the grave of Samuel Reed. Died August 14, 2010. I started digging. I didn't care about the law. I needed to know. 3 feet down, my shovel hit wood. I pried the casket open. Inside was a skeleton of a 12-year-old boy. Clutched in his bony hand was a friendship bracelet I recognized. I was wearing the exact same one on my wrist right now. I wasn't the victim. I was the replacement. I had been living a dead boy's life for 15 years, and I hadn't even known it. It's a lot to take in, isn't it? I turned around. Standing by a tombstone was the man from the storage unit. The Leo who should be dead. He held a flashlight to his own face. "I'm the real Leo," he said. "The body the FBI found. That was my replacement. I killed him so I could move freely. And you're the best version they ever made. You actually believed you were human." He stepped closer, handing me a heavy, black handgun. "The agency is coming to retire this entire town tonight to cover their tracks. They think we're just skins, Sam. Let's show them how much a shadow can bleed."